My question today for you is, where are you rejecting yourself? Where are you rejecting yourself? Abandonment is such a deep wound. And I know that all of us have a memory, or maybe we have symptoms today, fearing things, sabotaging what we actually want, believing we don't deserve good things. The abandonment and the self rejection runs so deep. It's usually passed down to us from mothers, their generation before them, their generation, like suppressed, being silenced. If you think about it, a lot of our parents' generation was still part of the generation that didn't know how important emotions are, didn't know how important it was to say, I love you. If they were abused, they were often, shh, don't say anything. Don't say anything. Don't cause a ruckus. The amount of suppression that is probably passed down to you in your timeline, huge, huge. And also, it is not your weight to carry. It's not your weight to carry. The suffering and the chaos that was passed down to you can end with you. You are not here to suffer anymore. And so we need to really look at that, though, the question of, where are you still living in self-rejection? We are taught a bare minimum standard of beliefs that usually are rooted in lack, scarcity, fear, unworthiness. And we need to look at that. And that's why I'm doing this video today, is just opening the door, opening the curtain to look at this. Because a lot of you who follow me here, you have big dreams. You have big passions. You want to wake up with fulfillment. You want to have a more abundant lifestyle. You don't want to be struggling paycheck to paycheck. You have so many ideas. And yet, if you are trying to get to these things with the baseline that you were taught to stay in, with which not good enough, unlovable, you're going to be efforting yourself there. You're going to actually be causing more suffering. And as someone who's rebuilding love within myself, creating a home that's safer than any home I've ever experienced growing up, I don't live in those bare minimum mindsets. I can't. There's no space for it anymore. The more that I embody the version of me that's really worthy before I do anything, worthy before I achieve anything, it's knowing how to embody this being of who you actually are beneath the layers of what you've had to put on yourself to protect and mask yourself. You are worthy. It's your inherent birthright. And yet, if what was demonstrated to you was a lack mindset, or I'm unworthy, I'm unlovable, you're carrying those as if they're yours, and they're not. If anything was placed on you full of fear, it's a program. Okay? And it comes in many different directions. So, look at I've taken some notes here. Look at the expectations of your family. Is that rooted in fear? Is that rooted in a place of unworthiness? The expectation is you have to do X, Y, and Z or else. That's not of unconditional love. That's actually of fear. That's of lack. You can do anything, right? Like, you what kind of home did you grow up in? And, we can sit here all day and probably share stories between us of all those people that belittled you. But I know that you also have an amazing memory of one person that believed in you, that said you can do anything. And if you haven't, I'm going to be the one that says it to you. You can do anything. You can do anything. Anything. And if you have a dream in your heart, if you have a desire, an idea that comes through you, it's possible. It's just it's going to be 10 times harder to try to get there if you were raised in a belief of bare minimum of lack, not worthy enough, not good enough. I have to achieve. I have to burn out myself out. I have to be addicted to chaos in order to have it happen. I think that's such a big one is when you've grown up with chaos and intensity and all you've known is the next thing that's gone wrong and you learn to survive in a very chaotic state, even though you're an adult and maybe you've become aware of these patterns, you've set boundaries, there is going to be a struggle there though, in the sense of if you're still like trying to gravitate towards chaos, maybe even subconsciously, you don't even know you're doing it, but you're efforting your way to this new idea or new dream, it's 10 times harder to do it that way. And I'm going to be teaching this inside Mother Wounds Uprooted because there's actually an entanglement of a pattern that happens based in manipulation. And I teach all about it inside Mother Wounds Uprooted because this is how you actually untangle from it. So many of us are used to going through chaos, through manipulation in order to feel loved or worthy. And we're changing that. You don't have to go through chaos in order to have what you want. But so many of us, because that's how we were brought up, there was only chaos. You learn to receive love through chaos. And so it's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to just use the example. If you've only ever had abusive relationships and then you finally learn to have a healthy partnership and you're learning to allow to receive a healthy person for the first time in your life, you're not being codependent, you're not trauma bonding, you're not, it's not a high intensity. It's just a love. Your body is going to go, what the heck are we doing? There's no chaos that I have to gravitate to. Really, really notice that because you're not here to suffer. You're not here to suffer. And I say that with the awareness that many of you are currently suffering and your story does need a safe place and validation. What happened to you, the way that you feel is valid, and also you don't have to stay there. I'm here to really, really guide you into the truth that trauma doesn't have to be the rest of your life. You're not here to get bare minimum standards of new coping mechanisms. Sure, it's a really good start to have some coping mechanisms, but you're not here to just cope the rest of your life. You are here to fully step on the other side and move beyond trauma, move beyond pain. And that's not to say that, yeah, we're human. We're still going to feel human limitations sometimes. We're still going to feel and go through challenges. But the difference is when you learn to master yourself, master your emotions, when you learn to actually regulate and move out of the lack mentality and the unworthiness, you are going to learn to see every single challenge as sacred. You are going to learn that the chaos does not consume you or overwhelm you. You're going to learn that if fear comes up, it does not dictate who you are, and it is a complete 180 than how most of us grew up, in that chaos, in that just gotta get by. And so many of you are actually making yourself sick because you're trying to force yourself into the fake it till I make it, which I do not subscribe to. That performance is a disease in North America. Okay? And so where are we rejecting ourselves? We reject ourselves by thinking we have to perform our way through life. When are you going to stop putting masks over top of yourself as band-aid fixes and actually want to heal at the root. I am here to guide people to heal at the root. I am someone who is the walking example of this, of moving beyond the pain, beyond trauma. The past does not have to dictate who you are anymore. So, this is a beautiful invitation between living in judgment or living in love. Are you living in judgment or are you living in love? If you think that judgment is entangled in love, then my dear, you're living in conditional love. I don't want that for you. And your inner being doesn't want that for you. Sure, we're human. Sometimes we judge without even thinking. Um, but when you do something, when you make a mistake, do you sit there and shame yourself and belittle yourself? Oh, you should have known better. That is a bare minimum mindset that was taught to you, that feeds into the lack, that feeds into the unworthiness. You don't deserve that behavior from yourself. Judgment holds us back. Judgment is a place where I don't want to live. I don't want to judge others for where they are in their journey. And when we talk about rejection and when we talk about really wanting to move into unconditional love, shame, lack, unworthiness, performance, where does that show up in good places with good intentions? This shows up at church. This shows up at school. This shows up in the work environments. This might show up with you and your spouse. In these good places that have good intentions, you need to even look there. Where are you rejecting yourself? Like I said before, if anything was told to you in fear, it was placed on you and it's a program. So we really need to look at things and go, if I'm here to live in unconditional love and not be paralyzed by suffering anymore, what fear programs am I giving into? Am I shaming myself when I go to church? And I mean, watch it. There's a lot of churches out there. If you sit back and observe, if they're teaching about the sin program, they're teaching shame, they're teaching judgment, they're teaching you are separate from God unless, and I don't subscribe to that. That's not true. We're never separate from love. You look at a little baby, they're not separate from love. And I mean, that's kind of a weird concept to get around if you've learned the sin program your whole life. But you need to realize that the sin program, it actually teaches you that you're wrong, that you're bad, that you're not enough until. It even teaches you to judge others of if they don't believe they're separate from God. We don't have, why would you want to live in that? Actually, can we just lovingly say this out loud, speak this out loud? Why would you want to stay in that? The love of God is unconditional, but yet those are all conditions. So notice where there's contradictions. There can be something really good, a good intention, but is it contradicting unconditional love? Look at that. Look at that. When we move out of suffering and self-rejection and abandonment, we are liberating our body and we are speaking with our voice. This goes back to what I was sharing at the very beginning of this of, so many generations before us were suppressed. They couldn't speak up. They stayed the peacekeeper. They never told anyone about the abuse behind closed doors. And this is a very exciting time to be alive. Because yes, there might have been some really hard things that you're still navigating that were passed down to you without your permission. And it can feel really, really hard. Really, really hard. And I hear that and I see that. And that part needs to be validated. It needs to be held in safe space. And I want you to know that, again, it doesn't end there. You're actually on this journey, this healing journey, is to liberate your body from this pain, from this suppression. When you suppress, you're actually holding emotions in your body. And this is what people don't know when they're just healing mindset. Mindset is important, but you need to know that if you've had any sort of trauma in your life, as a survival mechanism that your body does in order to make sure that you are protected, you start to only live from your head. And only living from your head means that you're stuck in suffering, stuck in control, not able to let go of the past. Your mind is like constantly wanting to protect you. But if you're disconnected from your body, you haven't been regulated. You probably go on those emotional, chaotic roller coasters. It's okay. It's not your fault. Even myself, I've got my master's in counseling. They only give coping mechanisms for mindset, and that's not enough. That's a subscription to keep you held in your trauma for the rest of your life. I'm not here for that. I'm here to give you a solution. It's worked on me in my life, and I say that with the awareness of sometimes it can feel like utter hell. So we're not bypassing your suffering. I'm just here to share with you today that that's not where your story ends. That's not where your life ends. Okay? There's a beautiful prayer that I have over my life every single day of show me how good it can get now that I'm safe, because I know what it's like to be in the exact opposite of that. And that's why I'm here. This is why I'm using my voice. Okay? Hi, Samantha. Aw, sending you so much love. So just stick with me here, because this is a journey home within yourself. Where are you not safe? Where is your body stuck? Where is your throat suppressed? So this is what happens is if we are passed down the storyline of you've got to suppress your emotions in order to be loved, you have to pretend in order to be accepted by God, you have to do X, Y, and Z in order to be worthy. I don't live like that. You don't have to live like that either. And as we start to turn the tables in this, we liberate our body from suppression. Because when you stay silent, when you just mask and perform, the suppression turns into stuck energy in your body, okay? Emotions is energy in motion. Emotions get stored in your body, not just your head. So that is why, I want you guys to understand this. This is why you can't just heal or think your way out of trauma. Yeah, the mindset, those beliefs, the inner critic that's going on in your head, that needs to be looked at. That does need to be looked at. That is important to start to shift. And so many people that come into my containers have overworked themselves with mindset, but yet they've done nothing with their body. And guess what? That's where the trauma is sitting. That's where the suppressed emotion is sitting. And a lot of the time, suppressed emotions of the pain, that's what turns into disease. That's what turns into the cancer. That's what turns into the autoimmune diseases. That's what turns into the chronic pain. Okay? This is the most sacred work you'll do, because you're not only going to be liberating the stories that were passed down to you and go into a life where you get to live out your dreams. You get to live out your realities. I'm living in a beach cottage on the lake. And when I started telling people in my life that that's what I wanted, they told me it was impossible. No, it's not. Everything is connected back to liberating your body. I started this journey almost 10 years ago, and you can give yourself the life you truly want. We are defying all timelines with this kind of work. Hi, Maria. Sending you so much love. Okay? This is so important. This is so important because your body holds these emotions, and the kicker is these emotions that have been suppressed and they're painful, they're not even bad. But so many of you guys avoid them because you don't want to look there. This is self-rejection. If you are suppressing your emotions, you are living in self-rejection. And that's okay, honey. You don't know until you know. I didn't know I was doing it. I was performing my way through life. You don't know sometimes. And that's why there needs to be gentleness here. There needs to be love. You cannot expect yourself to heal if you're judging yourself for having this in the first place. Okay, that's just going to repeat the pattern. Can you love this part of you? Can you love the body that's been suppressed because it's brought you this far? Right here today, if you start doing that, you've changed the game already. You started to heal. You started to shift. You started to come a little bit home to yourself than you were yesterday. One step at a time. And I want to ask you guys, so I asked you at the very beginning of this, where are you living in self-rejection? And I want to ask you now, how do you want to feel? How do you want to feel? Can you lean into that? Can you give yourself permission to feel something good? When you've been given the bare minimum standards of a belief system based in lack, limitation, suffering, how does that feel? For me, it was feeling like panic every single time I woke up. The dread, oh my gosh, the dread of getting up for another day. I didn't want to do it. Can we just be honest? Like, part of liberating your body and liberating your throat and your voice is being honest about these things for the first time in your life. Being able to say no to things that maybe as a child you didn't even know you could say no out of fear, right? And then you can choose this higher perspective and bringing your power back to a new way of storyline by asking, how do I want to feel? What does worthiness feel like? What does peace feel like? You know, it's so ironic. You know, I was taught every day or every week at Sunday school that God is peace. The King of Peace has come to save you. But yet it was backed up with all these conditions of why I wasn't worthy of that. So can we be honest about that? Because if you live with that, you don't know what peace is. I didn't know what peace was until I actually started meeting my own pain and started to accept the rawness of myself in the depths of my darkness. And I was like, oh my God, I was taught peace. But then it was contradicted with, I've got to perform. No wonder I woke up with panic every morning. No wonder I didn't feel safe to ask for help from these leaders that were promoting love and peace, but weren't actually knowing what peace was. Okay? And this is not to shame or blame anything. Everything has a perfect order. I look back at my life and thank all the pieces that brought me here. You know? And just also, like, if you're watching this halfway through, please go back because I explain all of this in full detail. Like, there's so many golden nuggets to just help you snap things in place for yourself. And, you know, I just want to remind you that you are here to move out of suffering. You are here to live the best years of your life. And you are the person that can give it to you. This bare minimum mindset of lack and scarcity, for example, that was given to you without your permission. But now you've got to give yourself the permission to go, I'm going to give myself something new here. The unknown, this new way of life is exactly where you're supposed to be. Okay? There's even like the visibility wound attached to this. Like, you're scared to be seen, you're scared to be heard, but yet that's the exact thing that you're actually desiring. You want to be seen. You want to be valued for who you are. You want to be able to express and not back down. You don't want to stay silent. So moving out of suffering, it is this bold invitation because it requires of you to carve a path that maybe has never been done in your family line before, right? It's allowed to be a little bit scary. But is that scariness going to hold you back in where you came from, or is it going to be the thing that sets you free? You don't have to let the fear dictate you anymore, but okay, fear. It's valid I fear you. It's valid I fear what I want, because I was told over and over and over again by my parents that it was impossible and that it was stupid. But that glimmer in me, I get to believe in that again. I get to reparent myself through this. I get to love myself with unconditional love. There's no failure. Nothing bad can happen. That was told to me by someone else. That's not my timeline. We're turning the tables.